Hello lovelies, and welcome back to my channel after a little bit of a break. I took a break because there was lots going on in real life. There was things going on in the house, and September always does a number on me. With 3 children and the start of new school terms and years in the UK, September's really busy, and this year it was even extra chaos really till he started 6th form. There were transport grants to apply for. Now she's turned 16. That was all different. Poppy, who is a year younger, is in her exam year. There's loads of extras around exams. Open evenings trying to find her 6th form for next year, which we're in the middle of trying to sort out and then apply for. Deadlines are coming up for that. This first term, September, October, it's just been chaos really. There's been so much on. So that's kind of where I've been. Adding to that, things in the house. So the last time I saw you guys, I was tearing the house apart, completely getting rid of my tarot room downstairs, which is the room underneath this room, my bedroom. Busby's drum kit just had to go down there because it was disturbing the neighbour. There is now a teenage drumming room downstairs, which meant that this room, also the lounge, had to accommodate all my books. This room had to accommodate all of my tarot decks. There was a lot going on, and that was about 3 weeks worth of chaos and then bringing it back. So I was busy in the house. Then I decided to decorate the spare bedroom for a doll room because I rediscovered my passion for dolls, and my doll collection came out of the loft. The doll room was in a right mess. It had been used as a junk room, so I had to empty that. I had to paint and decorate that. I had to bring bookcases down from the attic, which was a game and a half, and then start to create a space for the Barbies and the vintage Barbies that I was unboxing. I just didn't want to put my dolls back in the loft. I wanted to display them. So that as well was a big job in the house that kind of took my time out from talking to you lovely lot. So I am behind on my videos. I didn't do a September happies, I didn't do an October happies, so this is my double month catch up. And I've kind of said it all. It was school stuff, it was house stuff, it was appointments. There were a lot of appointments for various things for me and the children in October and September. It was so busy. I didn't read any books. That kind of gives you an idea of how busy it was. I do have some lovely decks to share. I also have some other bits and pieces to share as well, and some news. So let's start with decks. Now, to be honest, with all the demands on me in those 2 months, I found my mental health was a little bit rocky, and I knew I couldn't take on too much. And for a while, all I was doing was using this deck, which is really gentle, The Language of Letting Go by Melodie Beattie. And I was literally only pulling a card a day, which you will have seen if you were on my Instagram. I was sharing pictures there. This is a lovely deck with images on the front and writing on the back. I was pulling 1 card a day, but leaving them out to make like a 5 card spread over 5 days. It was quite surprising actually. The story over the 5 days ended up being really pertinent every time I did it. This is such a beautiful deck. Melodie Beattie wrote Codependent No More, and all the books about codependency is just fantastic. She wrote the book Beyond Codependency as well, so she's brilliant, and the deck is brilliant as well to use. It was really needed. It really got me through a rocky patch with my mental health. I love this deck, so that's how I started. By the way, the traffic for me outside sounds really loud. It seems louder upstairs filming than it did downstairs. And if you notice, I've rejigged this room yet again. My desk was over there, but it was just too dark. So I've now got my desk facing the window. I hope it's going to work. I'm still trying to find my feet with a good recording space since I lost that tarot space downstairs. Fingers crossed this will work better. Also spent a few nights watching the trilogy of Hobbit films with my middle daughter Poppy. We are both obsessed with the story of the Hobbit, especially the films. We love them. Inspired me to get my Hobbit deck out, the Hobbit Tarot. Now I think this is, if it's going out of print or it's out of print, you can still find some online. I bought Poppy this deck 2 Christmases ago now, and I thought it was going out of print then, because although it's just a US games deck, it was £35 back then 2 years ago. Because she wanted me to do some readings for her with it, I used it and fell in love with it myself. So I then decided I wanted a copy as well. So we have 2 copies of this. Even 6 months on, when I came to look, I couldn't find decks for less than £50-60. Eventually I did. This didn't cost me that much money, but I think it's gone up even more since then. So it's a great deck, but I think it's getting harder and harder to find. But I absolutely adore this deck. It reads like an absolute dream, and I found the most fantastic pairing for this deck to work with, and surprisingly it is this deck, the Deviant Moon Tarot. I'll put some pictures in here of some of the readings that I did, but you can see the 2 decks just work so nicely together, and I sat with this pairing for quite a while, to be honest. I then swapped it out and started putting the Hobbit Tarot in with a Cheryl Yambrat Rose deck, Art Through the Eyes of the Soul Oracle, and again that was a nice pairing as well. So 3 unexpected bedfellows that just worked so nicely together. Firm favourites, the Hobbit Tarot, like I say, just was wonderful to work with in September. Then I felt a real pull to work with a deck that I haven't really worked with that much. It was the first indie deck I ever bought myself. It's the Luminous Void Tarot, which I love. It's the one with the unusual shape and the amazing backs that look like this, with sort of subtle watercolours. It is just a beautiful deck. I really love it, but it hasn't had a lot of use. I think it was like that saving for best thing stopping me using it, so I decided to pull it out and start using this deck. My Anatomy of a Deck collection videos made me realise how many decks I have got that I don't use because I'm saving for best. Now this one I paired with another deck that I haven't really used, and again it's that idea of saving for best. Now this is the Tree Whispers Oracle by our lovely Mags. The 2 decks, I think it's probably something to do with the shape, really were lovely. They really were. You can see the way they sit together. It was just again a really nice combination to work with, and some of these watercolor images and the shapes and the creatures kind of really tied up with the shapes in the trees. See it here in this one as I'm saying it, and I find that magical and enchanting, almost like fairy tale like. I mean, you can see it there, look, the 4 swords and the shapes here, so just really enchanting and magical. It began to really take on a life of its own. I mean, this, you can almost see the face in the tree there, almost echoing the way the faces have been painted in the other card. Oh my gosh, and look again here, look, you can see it every time, like those shapes. So that was magical. I then decided to add into the mix this deck, which I keep in here. Now this is a second copy of Tarot of the She, but it's got the borders taken off. Now this was gifted to me and I really love it. It worked really nicely with those other 2 decks as like a third deck in the mix. and Tarot of the She as well. I will say, oh, it's one of my favourites, but it doesn't really get worked with. And again, look, you can see some of the echoes between these two decks working as well, which was lovely. It just, the two styles just work really nicely together. So that was a nice triple deck combo that I enjoyed working with. Now, Mag's Oracle with these backs, not only is the cardstock, oh, it's sublime, but that sort of witchy tree, sort of forest in the winter kind of vibe to it made me think about this deck as well. Now, this is the Moon Goddess Affirmation cards by Terri Foss, who has been picked up mass market. She's got a new deck coming out mass market. Is it out yet? I don't think it is yet, but oh, I'm going to be all over that. But it just made me think about this deck. I also, believe it or not, added this one into the mix as well. Oh, and I loved it. It's made me realise how well this deck of Mag's works with others. It just throws that key word into the mix. So you can see the vibe in that. The vibe just matches up so beautifully. So I've enjoyed those together as well immensely. Yeah, look at, I mean, you can really see that that's working nicely. So some beautiful artwork in both of these. I mean, very different. You've got Mag's manipulated photography, and then this kind of sort of ink, pen and ink work in Terri Foss's work. And so it's watercolor. I think it looks like ink and pen. But even though the art styles are different, the vibe isn't, the energy of these two decks isn't, and they have worked really nicely together. I'm going to be keeping those out because the woods have been changing. I'll put some footage in here of the woods. The sun is getting lower in the sky and the leaves are all coming off the trees. The woods aren't feeling secretive and green and shady anymore. They're becoming more open as the leaves drop. And so with that going on in the last 2 months, I think this deck is perfect to pull out the cupboard and work. I spent quite a bit of time in the woods actually, because I haven't really been to the caravan. Because it is exam year, Poppy's really needed the internet, and there's no Wi-Fi signal down there. And then on my child-free weekends, there was jobs to do up here. So the caravan has sat unused really, which is such a massive shame, but there is next year to look forward to when the season reopens in March. Following on again from that Anatomy of a Deck collection video that I did, where I talked about my unused decks and the category of saving for best, and realising how many decks I saved for best, I decided to get the Stolen Child Tarot off the shelf and actually use it. My gosh, I've loved this deck so much, and I have to say, I think I found my all-time favourite pairing of decks ever. Are you ready for it? These two. So Raven Folland's Messenger Oracle with the Stolen Child Tarot is blissfully beautiful. I'll put some pictures in here of the two decks being used together, and just look at them. Aren't they gorgeous? Even the backs are colour coordinated, and again, it's not just imagery, because again the art style is very different. It's just the vibe of these two decks. Oh, and the messages, and it's just been so wonderful. I mean, immediately look at the shape of that dragon and then the vulture, so similar. And look, you've got the vulture looking at the child and this dragon looking at a globe. Just so many synchronicities. I just really loved them together. Now, this is the old version of this deck with the borders, which I love, to be honest. I love it. But look at that, the colours go beautifully, just the whole vibe of it. Love it, love it, love it, love it. It's been such a special combination to use. Definitely one of my all-time favourite combinations. I just have to say, it's just been wonderful. These next few decks, which I'm going to share, decks that me and Tilly have used every single day for the last 2 months. These two decks, they're classed as Tilly's decks. We've got the Garden Dragons, the Field Guide to Garden Dragons Oracle, and this wonderful Tarot for Kids deck. Just lovely. The lovely Shannon gifted me this a few years ago, and Sandra gifted Tilly this deck, which she loves. These two decks, we keep in the lounge on Tilly's shelf with all of her decks, and we use them every morning pre-school before the taxi turns up to collect Tilly, and then in the evening Tilly will actually ask, can we look at the cards and review the cards? She actually says that, can we review the cards, mummy? And they're lovely. And what we do, we shuffle the cards, and Tilly will take 2 dragons from the top and I take 1 dragon from the bottom, and we get our dragons for the day. And then she will take 2 cards from the tarot for the story that the dragons hold, and I will take 1 card from the bottom. And this week, don't you know, after a good shuffle, we pulled out identical cards. So Tilly's 4 cards were identical to the 4 cards she'd pulled the day before, even though I shuffled the deck. My cards were also identical. So we had 6 cards repeat after shuffling and cutting the deck for both of us 2 days running, which I thought was absolutely unbelievable. But these 2 decks are so wonderful together. I love this deck, this Tarot for Kids. It's not just for kids, it's for grown-ups as well, and it's wonderful, as is this Field Guide to Garden Dragons. They're both wonderful decks. That's been a real gentle hug every day for me over the last 2 months, when I felt a little bit rocky, as has the Sacred Forest Oracle, which is another of Tilly's decks, which we keep upstairs because sometimes she asks for a card before bedtime. So this is a nice one to pull before bedtime with these lovely fairy tale backs, and it's just a beautiful photo collage hay house deck with just some really nice messages on, keywords. You've got standing stones, passage, and we can talk about what that might mean, like renewal, or the butterfly spirit, transformation. Simple, wonderful, pretty little deck, meandering pathway, flow. So just something really nice as a bedtime pull, just to think about before bed. So those have been lovely, and Tilly's really kept my tarot and oracle practice alive for me when I was feeling a bit overwhelmed by life, and possibly would have left it behind if it hadn't been for her. I also got sent this deck through the post, which I haven't shared yet, by a friend that I won't mention the name because I haven't asked if that's okay, but she sent me this, and I love it. Oh my gosh, it's made me look at Samantha West's decks. She has a deck that I thought I'd never buy, which I'm changing my mind about, which has got a very rude word in the title. Look up Samantha West's decks, you'll find it. But any creator that can have lime green and pink as the inside of their box cover, and on the box, oh my gosh, the colour for me, these colours, turquoise, pink, lime green, yellow, it shouldn't work. I shouldn't like it either because it's got gilding on, but it does. Oh my gosh, I love this, and I think I'm going to keep this deck in the doll room. Are we focusing, I wonder? I'm not sure, as we are, but look at it, it's just so wonderful. Oh, look at that 6 of crystals. I love that card. I love to see curvy people represented, as a curvy person myself. Yeah, so I mean, look at it. For me, it's the colours. It affects me the same way as the Muse Tarot affects me. You know, it can do no wrong because of the colours. And look at the representation. I'm going to have to do a proper sharing of this deck, but that was wonderful. Now, the news, I don't know whether I've just uploaded a video before this or whether it's coming after it. Either way, the news is that at 9 months in, I am calling an end to my no buy year. The depth year is still continuing, but the no buy element of it is now done. I've shared in that video, I shared my unicorn deck, which I managed to find, which I'll leave for that video. But also with the rediscovery of all my Barbie collection and unboxing my Barbie collection and making a doll room, and also being up the charity shop a lot because I'm still decluttering the house, I have succumbed to buying a few dolls. A few, she says, probably more than a few, but if I'm finding thrifted dolls, 2 Mycene Madisons, you can't leave them in the shop. I now have shelves for dolls, which is a very dangerous thing, but I am loving it. So I did buy a few dolls for myself in the last month. So October has seen some dolls coming in. With that, and with finding my unicorn deck as well, I thought, well, this is no longer a no buy. So with no guilt at all, and with loads learned, and with a whole new attitude on consumerism, I did call an end at the end of October to my no buy element of depth year, which is wonderful, and I've done a video update all about it, so go and watch that. But yeah, so that's the news. It's not huge news, but it's news. Oh, and the other news, which I nearly forgot, I have a second channel. How could I nearly forget? It's permanently linked. You go to the menu bar and hit on channels, it's linked in there. It just says my other channel and it's on there. It's called Tiny Soul Whispers, because for me, the dolls do bring messages just like the cards do. They have little voices that speak and give messages. I'm trying to share the stories of the dolls and the whispers of the dolls. So the dolls are actually turning out, surprisingly, to be part of my divination practice, definitely part of my healing journey as well. There is definitely a thing called doll therapy, and when I get really overwhelmed, to sit in the doll room surrounded by twinkly lights and to stroke doll hair to redress dolls, it's a thing, and it's been wonderful and soothing and fantastic, and a much nicer way of self-soothing than just plying my face with sugar. So hopefully the dolls can help that issue. There are so many issues. What the hell? Let's just be honest. There are so many issues. But I'm trying to find healthier ways to deal with the many issues that are going on, which for me is a tick in the box. So doll therapy, it's been a thing. Visits to the toy shops. Oh my gosh, I've been to the toy shop about 5-6 times in the last 2 months. So much so that the staff now say hello to me by name, which the kids thought was hysterical when I took them for a trip out to the toy store to treat them, to get them to choose some Christmas presents or point things out that they were interested in. And then we all went for lunch, and that for me was the highlight of the last 2 months. Finally getting out with the kids to go somewhere for lunch. It seems literally like years since we've done that. A walk round a toy shop, some treats, and lunch, a lovely lunch out. It was just wonderful. We laughed so much. We got nasty looks actually from a couple of older ladies at the table next to us because we were having so much fun and we were laughing. It was just joyous to be out again. So my kids and me, a little team of 4 out for lunch, was definitely the highlight of the last 2 months. So thank you guys, thank you so much for sticking with me while I've had a break and set up another channel. It doesn't mean that I'm going to stop posting here. I've had a couple of messages saying, are you not posting on your main channel anymore? I just couldn't possibly leave this community because I love you guys so much. So yeah, there are 2 channels going now. I'm going to try and keep on top of it, but I love making videos. I love just chatting away. I love sharing all the things I love and passions that I've got. So 2 channels just seems doable to me. Anyway, enough rambling. Thank you so much for watching and listening. I hope your September and October was really good. I hope you've had exciting things happen as well, lots of laughter. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.